What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Those Guys You Hate mini-sesh. And Tyler, how are you, my friend?
I'm okay, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well today, brother. Doing pretty well. Mini-sesh is where we break from all of the standard Those Guys You Hate showdom, and we tell generally a story from our past. But today, we're going to be doing a story from our current, Tyler.
Technically, it's still our past.
We are in, well, every moment is our past, I guess. Thank you for getting philosophical here in the first 2 minutes.
Just pedantic.
Sure, but excuse me. I didn't know you were a foot doctor, Tyler. That's incredible. What are you doing here? So the fact of the matter is that this is something that I'm embroiled in currently, okay? And there's a lot of rigmarole. There's a lot of...
You mean variables?
Isn't that another word for variables? That's a variable word for variable. Rigmarole. And what is going on here is I feel like I am being railroaded, Tyler.
Oh, please.
I feel like I have been taken advantage of per usual. And I'm not going to take it anymore because I've been branded as this monster. We've even talked on this show about the one time, and it sounds like I'm doing a thing here.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I understand that. Yeah. It's my tone. It's my face. It's all of my history on
and
the show.
And you also call out that when you're doing a thing, when you're trying to be serious, but you're actually doing a thing.
And that's the thing. I'm always full of shit. So I understand how people get confused. Yeah. But I have been branded as this aggressive I don't want to say monster.
Yeah, monster's a bit too...
It's a bit heavy-handed.
Monster, I think of like the Night Stalker.
But despot, okay? I think that is about where we're at.
Sure, a shady fellow,
now,
if you will.
Now, let's get down to it. Let's nail it down. We did a mini-sesh one time about when I defended my brother's honor. We were kidding around, and I hurt someone, okay? We've all done that. You've been playing around with somebody and somebody gets hurt. That is, as you get older, you stop wrestling with people because what always happens, no matter how jovial it is, no matter how much you're playing around, generally speaking, somebody gets hurt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what horsing around is.
Right.
I think it also has to do with the repressed anger that builds up over time. And once you hit a certain age, there's no containing it anymore.
It's not repressed if you let it out while pretending like you're playing.
You have to let it out in a healthy way.
Sure.
That is not healthy.
It's like a tea kettle. You just gotta,
exactly.
Right. You just gotta unleash it every once in a while and burn somebody.
Right. And there is literal steam emanating from your ears. Are you okay?
It's a literary device. So here's the thing. We did a mini-sesh on when I was joking around with somebody, a young woman.
Emphasis on the joking.
I
was joking around.
And a rib, only one rib. We got a bunch of ribs and one rib was broken. I feel terrible about that. I have since apologized.
The way that you disassociate yourself from the
it could have happened to anybody.
A rib was broken, as if you're saying it was out in the wild and it just happened to break.
It was a woman's rib, and don't they have one more rib than us? Really, I was just evening the playing field.
One rib at a time.
Sure, exactly right. So no, we're joking around, but there was some...
Stop saying we.
Well, it was a group situation. You can go back and listen to it. Yes. I forget what the name of that one was. Do you remember what it was? It was a good one.
It was a good one.
And we were all joking around, and my brother's ex-girlfriend, they were very into MMA at the time, did a little reverse naked choke on him, almost put him down. I said, do it to me. I grabbed her, and I squeezed too hard, and I broke one of her ribs, which sounds terrible.
It is.
But we weren't fighting. I wasn't angry.
Well, you can fight without anger, which is what I would assign to what you guys were doing, because you were literally saying, put me in a fighting hold.
Sure.
So technically you were fighting.
And if we're going to say it, there's always a little bit of anger with me.
And there was some drinking going on.
Oh, yeah.
Which really lights that fuse.
Absolutely.
And in your very meager defense, because I like this to be evened out.
I appreciate
She
it.
was an incredibly petite human being.
Well, she should have thought about that. She should have got herself up to my weight class, Tyler. That ain't my fault.
You come into the Battle Dome, you gotta get these, all right?
You take the fight, you get the fight. You know what I mean? So, but all joking aside, we were joking around and she got hurt. I felt terrible about it.
You did feel terrible about it.
To this day, I mentioned on that mini-sesh that she couldn't sleep on her side the way that she was accustomed to, which is a fate worse than death.
Yeah.
So this leads me into our current situation.
I hope she learned her lesson.
I'll ask you at the very beginning. Why do you think that I'm so aggressive, Tyler? I know this is a buckshot, like a shot. Okay. Why do you think that I have so much rage?
Shame.
Okay, why do you think I have so much shame, Tyler?
Because we were told that when we were younger. There was a lot of standards that were placed on us, some conscious, some unconscious. And we've talked about many of them in the past. Something our mom used to do when we used to get really testy with her. We'd get really we'd always get sarcastic with her.
Sure.
And she would always shut it down. She'd always be like, not another word. And that is just toxic to a human's brain.
Why do you say that?
Because you're not allowing the person to express themselves, and especially when they're children.
What do you do with your kids when they're talking back to you? Because I think most people would hear that and be like, what am I supposed to do with my kid?
Yeah, absolutely. And don't hear this and hear me saying that you should allow your kids to be disrespectful to you.
Oh, man.
That triggered something in you.
I almost went to a place I don't think I'm allowed to go.
You're not allowed to go there.
I wanted to talk like a rapper, and I'm not a rapper, Tyler. That's a code word.
I'd knock your top off.
Yeah. I wish a sleeper would.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing and that is the distinction. You can't express yourself without being disrespectful. So allowing your kid.
How would your 5-year-old, and I'm asking a genuine question, I'm playing the part of the audience who's like, what are you talking about? How would you let your 5-year-old express their disapproval without being disrespectful?
What do you consider disrespectful? Is getting loud? Is screaming getting disrespectful?
Just talking. So you're saying if they say, hey, I really didn't like it that you took away my toy and explain themselves.
It would be very difficult for a 5-year-old to express themselves
That's
that
why
way.
they get knocked out, Tyler. I didn't want to do it, Nana.
That's why they catch stray knees.
Sure. That's why there's a bow in their nose.
That's why in those moments, those are the teaching moments that when they come up and they start screaming, we should be allowed as human beings to scream. That is a way for us to express ourselves.
Screaming?
Yeah.
I don't know about screaming.
Why?
I don't think my ego would allow a 5-year-old to scream in my face.
And that is but no. See, and this is the difference. Not get up in my face and you son of scream like we scream into pillows, like we scream into towels in this household.
Why don't we do one right now, Tyler? Let's unleash one. How about, because I think this is cathartic. I think this is good. How about on the count of 3, you and I just let it rip, and I think the rest of this show is going to go a little bit better.
And when we scream, it is not directed at anybody. It is releasing our emotions, which is what your child should do. We are releasing. We're not directing it at anybody.
Tyler speaks for himself. This one's for you, Mom. All right, here we go, Tyler. Ready? 1. I'm going to count to 2, and then I'm going to take my big breath, and then we're going to go. There is going to be no 3, okay? 1, 2. I feel better. Oh, that's so good.
Sorry, neighbors.
That is so good. Vecinos, my apologies. So now, Tyler, the other night, I am going to bed, and my girlfriend Nicole is there, and we, for whatever the reason, like it's the end of the night, and we're just punchy. Do you know what I mean? Like right before you go to sleep, I almost want to
feeling goofy,
call upon like cabin fever or whatever. You ever feel like you're just like laughing and you don't even know why you're laughing, and it's just one of those things. You're just being silly together, which is a lot of fun.
I went through COVID. I know what cabin fever is. Yes, go on. Right? Yeah.
It's still going on.
I was going to say plus the 20 years before that. I never left my room. That's the joke.
So we, for whatever reason, I think there was just like a little push or whatever the deal was, we're getting in bed, and it turned into a wrestling match.
You push each other into bed?
No, honestly, she and I've done a lot of wrestling with people that I've been in relationships with in the past. I don't know if it's my maturity level or just our relationship. She is very fragile. She's very delicate. She is not in stature, but just her vibe. She's not a fighter. I've dated fighters before, and we, whatever, playing around. We've never really wrestled before, but we got into a bit of a wrestling match. You know what I mean? And by that, I don't mean like trying to pin each other. It was mostly tickling. Now, you know what I'm talking about, where you're wrestling or whatever, but you're really just tickling the other person.
Is this how old people lead into sex? Like, Is this what you do? You tickle each other to get the mood going?
Tell me if you understand this situation. You guys are, anybody, you're being tickled. And it almost leads you to a sense of paralysis because you're joking around and you're laughing so hard that your body almost feels powerless. Like you want them to stop, but you can't physically move. You're laughing so hard. I had tears coming out of my eyes, and we're rolling around. I'm tickling her, then she's moving my arm, and then she's tickling me, and you're laughing so hard you literally feel a sense of paralysis. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like a little kid you're tickling and it's like almost hurting them. You know what I mean?
Well, tickling is an anxiety response by your
Sure.
body. So yes.
And that's why you can't tickle yourself.
Yep.
So we're joking around and we're having a good old time. Now, perhaps this is where my aggressiveness does come into the story. I will admit. I slowly, instead of just sticking with the game plan of tickling and holding you down and whatever, I slowly, while laughing and I can barely catch my breath, start moving her to the edge of the bed, just so you can have that dramatic. Oh, you're hanging over the edge of the bed. I'm tickling you. Oh, you're in a precarious spot.
Yeah. I saw this with Mufasa and Scar. It did not end well.
That was a little tickle that got out of hand. That's it.
That's what it was. Tickle with my claws.
Sure. Hey, wildebeest, you want to get in on this? Spoiler alert.
Tickle you with my hooves.
Yeah. Good movie. So I'm moving her over there. She's still fighting. Now here's the thing with women, okay?
Okay.
Here's the thing with all women, okay? Because there are, it's got to be scary to be a woman, man. I
will agree with. I would assume.
I've said this to a million times. If you're in that situation and you're with somebody that you don't trust wholeheartedy, and you know that person is this much stronger than me, just biologically speaking, I'm sure there's a lot of women out there who are stronger than me, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just saying in the general sense. I'm not being misogynist. That's got to be scary sometimes of like, bro, this person's like holding me down, and luckily I very much trust this person, because this could be, people are accosted all the time by men who just happen to be stronger.
It would be like hanging out in a room with an NFL player,
sure,
or an NBA player, and them doing that to you, and you being literally powerless to stop any of their advances.
Can I choose which one?
I've never. Nope.
Who would you pick?
Who would, in the NFL
or the NBA? You said both, because I immediately went to Steph Curry. I don't know why. I see him as being a little tickle monster.
That's only because he's on the floor with all these people who are bigger than them, but he's still a big dude.
Bro, he looks like a child out there. And if you saw him in real life, it's the biggest human you've ever seen.
Sure.
And I think it's just those eyes. I think they're just dreamy.
I'd go with Shaq.
What?
Yeah. If I'm going to be overpowered, overpower me.
Dude, I mean, those salami fingers in your ribs, you would implode into a pile of dust.
Yeah.
He'd crush you.
He would break most of my ribs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
I just want to be held.
Okay, we're gonna take a little break here, and we'll come back with just me. So to wrap up this story here, I'm scooching her over to the edge, and we're still laughing. Now, again, women in a lot of ways are powerless, not in a misogynistic way. I mean, just in a body power type of way. There are many things that women can do that men can't.
Half of this show is disclaimers from you.
I'm very scared, Tyler. I say a lot of crazy things. So she is now, I wouldn't say dangling over the edge. I haven't gotten her there yet. I'm holding her with my legs in kind of like a scissor lock, and she's got like maybe just her head and shoulders over the side of the bed. Okay.
So you have got her in a literal jujitsu move,
sure,
hanging precariously over a cliff.
Sure, I guess so. I mean, less of a cliff than
trying to build up the story a little bit.
Yes, we're on the Empire State Building of beds, Tyler. So she pulls the move that I think a lot of women are familiar with, where she turns her hand into like what was the name of the bad guy in Terminator 2?
Oh, yeah, the T-1000
sure,
or T-2000.
Remember when he turns his arm into just like a liquid metal spike?
Yeah, like a blade.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
She does that and jams it into my undercarriage, okay? Into my taint, into my butt area.
Your rectum, your taint is not correct anatomy.
Well,
she was aiming for the inside.
I don't know that she was going for my butt or whatever, but after you're laughing in that manner, it's just anything, really anywhere, but especially there, it just, it shuts you down. You know what I mean? She gave me the old Gaddafi. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's the more you trust them, the better it gets. So you got the sword up the taint.
Sure.
If you don't know this person and they're attacking you, it's a kick to the balls. So you got the upgraded tickle version.
Well, and I'm in any situation other than a tickle fight, I'm totally good. I'm calm. But in this scenario,
with a hand up your butt,
sure,
okay,
yeah. And I know this is an entertainment podcast, but I mean it.
I'm entertained.
So it's all right. It's all right. So I my body does what any body normally would do. It spazzes out like one of those balls of snakes. I'm just spasming in every direction. Your body tries to protect itself. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. It's moving away like an opposing magnet. You just try to get away from it as quickly as possible.
But you know, when you're being tickled, your body, like you said, it's an anxiety attack. Your body recoils.
Well, I'm thinking specifically around the sphincter area that my body is very defensive about that.
But even if I grabbed your ribs or whatever in that scenario, your body fights back. I'm not distancing.
I guess we're gonna have to figure out.
I'm not distancing myself from this situation. I'm just telling you my actual impression of it.
Sure.
So as this happens, and she is close to the side, my legs twist, okay? She goes off my bed onto the tile ground with the top of her head.
Yeah.
Okay, without putting her hands up. It all happened so fast.
Thank God her head was there to catch her.
And she is laughing in the same way that I'm laughing. So we're completely disoriented, and her head hits the ground hard, bro. Hard. To a point where, I mean, of course, we stop. I'm very worried at this point. I am checking her pupils. I'm waiting. I think that she could be concussed. Like, she hit the ground hard.
Yeah, everybody needs a good, healthy concussion at least once in their life.
Absolutely. Have you ever had a concussion that you're familiar with?
No, never.
And man, knock on plastic. I haven't either, and I'm very afraid of it.
I have landed on the ground twice in my life, really hard. Both times I landed flat.
Yeah.
I caught, if I would have put all the pressure on one end, I would have really been injured. But
I can think of one time that happened to me. Yeah. Your body responds without your brain being involved.
Well, just a quick one. I went up for a dunk. I was not tall enough.
Yeah.
Flew backwards, but landed perfectly flat.
And the only thing that got hurt was your ego.
Well, I was just lying there. First going, is anything broken? And then, did anybody see?
Sure. Absolutely. So to make a long story short, she ended up being okay. She went to her head was still hurting. Her neck was hurting, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, she went to an urgent care. Have you ever been to one of those urgent care
so depressing
doctor's offices?
Depressing.
It's interesting the direction that medicine is going, where it used to be you had your family doctor and you would go in, Dr. Schultz when we were growing up.
Name drop.
And now it's just like, we assume that you can't afford medical coverage, so come give us $150 and we won't check you out at all. You tell us what you think you have and we'll agree with you.
That's because it's a business. Taking care of people is no longer about taking care of people. It's like food. It's no longer about providing this service for people. It's about making as much profit as possible.
It's crazy. They're like, you think you have a concussion? Okay, you got a concussion. and there's nothing.
Well, you're the professional here.
Look at me. You do look concussy. And
what do they do for her?
What can you do for a concussion? They're like, and
sleep a concussion? I don't know.
Okay, you're no longer a doctor, Tyler. I'm going to need your white coat. You don't go to sleep if you think somebody has a concussion.
Course,
okay,
of course.
go sleep this off. I'll see you again never.
Of course, you take a nap. You'll be fine.
So they said,
did they at least flash a flashlight in her eyes?
Yes, but it was attached to their cell phone, which I believe is not good, man.
Oh, my battery died.
You don't have a pen light or something? So they said to her, and perhaps this is where the $150 is worth it. They're like, I don't think you should go to school or work for a couple of days.
Oh,
now, I mean, I may go in there and tell them I have a concussion later on. I hope I don't have to hit my head.
It's the same thing. Man, the doctor, to take care of what could be a life-threatening situation, has the same attitude towards this life-threatening situation as does my marijuana doctor when I go in and say I have anxiety. He's just like, oh, sure, here you go.
Oh,
shit.
Your back hurts, does it? Checks out to me. Insomnia? You got it.
That sounds like the C4 vertebrae.
Sure.
Here's a note from your doctor.
I could see right when you walked in, you were standing weird. So, and here is really where I want to take this. Number one, I am to some degree not sure that she believes that I didn't do it on purpose. Now, here's like, she's like, yeah, no, I know that it was an accident. But you got to be more gentle. Now, by saying that, you are in some way implying that that was my plan. And if you have 1% of that thought in your head, that makes me a murderer. If you 1% think that my general plan was for you to end up on the tile floor from my bed on the top of your kepi without putting your hands down,
Mhm.
that would make me a psychopath.
Why are you making that leap?
She
said you got to be more careful. In no way does that mean, man, you definitely planned this.
Tyler,
it just means you got to be more careful.
I cannot tell you how many times I've looked her in the eyes since this has happened and said, I didn't do it on purpose. And I think that's really raising a lot of the red flags.
Yeah.
I didn't, Tyler.
Yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, and I said to her, if that's even part of your thought process, you should get out of here. That makes me a murderer.
And you should kill her now. Don't wait. Just do it now.
Don't worry, Tyler. We got plans. But my thought is that me being aggressive, or is that, now I admit I'm aggressive. I do like to play a little rough, like we've discussed throughout this whole episode, but I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, for sure. It's, you can get a little aggressive, but you will, it will immediately wind down the moment somebody actually gets hurt.
Sure. Not until then, though.
It's where you see the ocean meet the desert, and these two things just clash.
Sure.
And it's like, these things don't belong together,
Sure.
but there they are.
Well, let me ask you this, and I think we've touched on this on the show. Is there any such thing as good aggression?
I think there's healthy aggression in that aggression is a part of our DNA and we can use it in certain moments
Sure.
to defend ourselves. Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and even with my son and I, we play very physically. We always have. I will throw some hands with that boy.
What are you doing with your hands
just
right
getting
now?
ready.
What
I'm just loosening it up.
He's putting his hands up like Mike
I do.
Tyson.
I get ready, bro. I'll bite that ear off. But the deal is that I do believe that there is some, if we were just talking about this the other day, the fact that I've always been rough with him and he doesn't get hurt. He plays around. He likes it.
Mhm.
I do believe that is helpful to be able to withstand pain. And I'm not talking about hurting him like seriously, but I'm talking about a little punch here and there, a little roll around, a little wrestle. And as opposed to somebody who's totally afraid of getting hurt, don't you?
Oh, for sure. I think there is something healthy to be discerned in us about how much pain we can withstand up to a certain point, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. What you're saying is true. Being able to play around and know that, like you said, a punch to the arm, a little bit of pain ain't going to kill you. As long as you're not trying to like snap a neck or something.
Well, and the thing is, I think little kids very often, myself included, they find definition in like, oh man, I'm really hurt. I'll keep going, but man, I'm really hurt with just little day-to-day stuff. And what I try to explain to him is, and not that I'm some sort of modern day philosopher, life is painful. And I don't mean that in the emotional way that we're always talking about. You're going to get hurt every day.
Yeah.
And if every day you are the victim, every day, oh yeah, I hurt my finger. Or, oh, dude, just suck it up. Nobody wants to hear that. Find definition in being the guy who can get hurt and go on. You don't have to talk about it all the time.
Yeah, but I'm really hurt, Ryan.
Oh, I didn't realize. Come here. Let me give you a little boo-boo.
It's right here on the end of my big toe.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to something else. So I just think that it teaches you, yeah, hey, bro, you got to literally hurt yourself every day. You're going to bang your knee. You're going to stub your toe. You're going to, whatever the deal is, let me punch you in the nose once and don't tell your mom.
You should have leaned in and be like, hey, this little pain you're feeling right now, when you reach my age, it's going to be all over your body. Every morning you wake up.
Just wait until it's emotional. Debilitating.
You can't even handle the pain I'm dealing with right now.
So I feel like I've become less aggressive as time has gone on, but I don't know. I've always liked that edge to myself. I have never been in like a real fight. I've never really punched anybody in the face.
You've been in a real fight one time.
Sure. Well, you know what? Save that because that could be a mini-sesh.
That is a mini-sesh.
That's a good one.
Because it's got a great ending.
Oh, man.
I mean, great for all of us, not for you.
Not for that guy. But the fact of the matter is, I like that I have a little aggressive edge to me without ever being somebody who truly hurts people.
Yeah, but you can sometimes hurt people.
Sure.
You know, we're literally on the topic of you breaking a rib.
But I'm just saying aggressive people who go out to be aggressive and force their will on people, I like. And also that people know, you know, I perhaps I'm not the toughest guy in the world.
Go on.
But it would probably be easier to mess around with somebody else. I mean, if I'm going to go looking to bully somebody, that's probably not the guy.
I guess so. Sure. Yeah, that's a nice deterrent as it were.
I wonder if some of it is because I grew up always being the smallest. Until my adult age, I was always the smallest person in my class, amongst my friends. And then I started doing horse steroids and, you know, we took care of that.
Yeah, I do like you better on all fours.
Nay.
And I think that being the smallest, I mean, not that you had it, but they have what's called the Napoleon syndrome, which, man, talk about shitty Remembrance Day, man.
Napoleon actually was not that small.
He wasn't. He was average height, but still, that sucks to be remembered that way.
I also believe reckless journalism that I believe it was he that loved women who didn't shower. I believe that he wrote love letters to the woman that he was in love with, telling her, don't wash up before I get home from war.
I mean, this is the Dark Ages. They barely showered anyway.
Sure, just bathe in that chamber pot. Speaking of shitty, that is our mini sesh. I swear I didn't do it on purpose, I think. And that's it. That's just me documenting another step towards the Who Scout, Tyler.
Yeah, let's call it an unconscious act of aggression.
I'm going to the clink, and you were documenting what, the clink?
That's not, you're not allowed to say that.
Why
anymore.
not?
It's very close to something else.
What?
I just, no, that was a fun story. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to part 3, which hasn't happened yet, but Ryan will assault somebody eventually.
Tyler, she is right on the line of part 3 happening in a big way. Thank you guys for being here. Go to those guys you hate to, get a restraining order against me, Tyler. And great job.
Yeah, man. You too, for sure. We are those guys you hate.
You kind of will kill you. I've never done this part before.
Red circle. Red circle, buddy.
Yeah. What's up?
And that concludes our coverage for today.
Thank
Go ahead
you.
and shut off your radios.
We are those guys you hate.
Literally.
What's up, dog? What?
We got to do better than that.
All right, go ahead. You go.
All right. Let's see if I'm going to be taking control of this.
Why does it have to be about control? Why can't it just be organic, Tyler?
Why does it have to be sup, dog? I remember doing that in the very beginning, and you were Vietnamese.
Vietnamese?
Vietnamese. You were Vietnamese about it.
Stop comparing me to who I was, Tyler. It's an unfortunate trend that you've really grabbed onto.
Oh, have you ever been in line with the guy who needs to stretch while he's waiting? I was in line with a guy who was just swinging his elbows back and forth, doing knee raises. We get it, bro. You're in shape. You're stretching. Knock it off. We're in line waiting for coffee. Stop it.
I am unfamiliar with this as a person. I know the guy who practices his jump shot. I know the guy who
practices his jump shot.
Sure,
like
man.
In line,
like little kids. Sure. As a matter of fact, when I was at a theme park very recently, there was a kid who I believe was Vietnamese. What are the chances of that? Dirty knees. Look at these. What? They just rhyme, Tyler. That's not hateful. They just rhyme. That's Vietnamese. Look at these. And he just was constantly. I mean, honestly, it was a pretty pure shot. I guess if you added a ball, it might change things. Also, the guy who practices his golf swing.
That one I've seen.
That's an old one.
That one, yeah.
That one goes back a ways.
But I mean, even those. Well, but I'm talking about an adult. Being a kid, it's not fair because you can do whatever you want as a kid.
That's not true.
Technically speaking,
I've looked into that. Not true.
I'm not going to follow up on that.
Understandable.
And just he was just swinging his elbows to and fro. First of all, you're going to hurt somebody.
I wonder why that is. I wonder what he's just staying loose.
I guess so. Yeah, he was stretching, and I was judging.
I'm a stretcher.
I was judging the bleep out of him, but
Okay.
you don't do it in line.
Yeah, I guess he's just living his best life, though, Tyler. I mean, he's just doing what feels right.
Okay, well, this was a great conversation.
What else you got in there? I think I helped out a lot there. Let's see. Tyler's scrolling. He's taking control.
I don't know if I've talked about this one, but
Hey, would you push that door shut, please, Tyler?
But to the guy who loudly called out with just enough volume for everyone in his immediate vicinity, including me, to hear. And then when we all looked at him, he nodded at the girl down the line. Knock it off.
So these are just, oh, I fucked up, Tyler.
That's okay.
We'll keep going.
That's all right.
Is this again same coffee line?
No, this is just a different situation. And I shouldn't have said down the line. I was at a bar and the bartender was like, "Hey, So where all the guys in the immediate vicinity that could hear him
When was this? When did you go to a bar that I wasn't invited? What the fuck?
What? And we all turn and look, and he just nods at this beautiful woman down. And so now everybody's looking at her. Bro, knock that shit off.
So you're saying to the bartender, knock it off, or to the woman, stop being beautiful? If you look like that, don't leave your house.
To the guy, yeah. Don't walk out your front door. To the guy who's getting everybody's attention so we can all look at one person and I'm sure make them uncomfortable.
Sure. Well, fuck them.
Knock that shit off, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's like, man, I like to observe people. I like to, and I know there's a loaded word, make judgments on people out when I'm looking at people. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's, isn't that what people watching is? You're taking in information about people and then constructing thoughts in your mind, even if they're not true, because you haven't spoken to these people.
I don't know. Does everybody do that? Or do they just...
I don't think, I'm sure to some degree, everybody does that. Probably not to a weaponized degree the way that I do it.
Sure.
But I try to figure out what the relationship is. If I go out to eat lunch with you or eat dinner with you, my perfect idea of a meal is to sit in the corner, ignore you, and just look at everybody else. Truly, not you, anyone, really.
That makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
If you were just talking about me,
not just
then
you.
people would be like, oh, that's a fucked up relationship. But you are just, no, if I'm out with you,
Do you know what I mean, though?
I know what you mean in terms of people watching. I don't know what you mean in terms of I'm just going to straight up ignore you while I do it.
I won't do it because I know that's socially unacceptable, much like orgasming within the first 30 seconds. I would love to do it, but I know that you're going to tell your friends.
I was going to say looking at your phone the whole time, but yeah, that one works too. Sure.
Wow, this is an amazing deal on Amazon. No, I just, for some reason, and perhaps it's the origins of this show to some degree, I would even use the word obsessed with human relationships, human connection. Perhaps I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? It's like studying the anglerfish. I've just never seen it before.
You're like in a reverse zoo while you're just in their territory, observing them.
I would be a lot more comfortable if I was in a cage. Sure. Some would say this restricts me. I would say it's keeping me safe.
Yeah, exactly. They can't get in and can't eat you is what it is.
Now give me a piece of bread and move on. No, I do. I'm obsessed with the way that people connect and what is ultimately going on in their minds, where I feel like they don't even know why they're connecting in that way, but I do.
First of all,
but I do.
No,
sure.
That is a bad
This
assumption.
cage is too big. I need a smaller cage.
That's an assumption.
Well, you're right. That is true.
And you don't know what's going on in their minds, and you don't know what the association is.
You want to get somebody upset? Not only do you say this next thing that I'm about to tell you, but also mean it. When you tell somebody, I know you better than you know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it now that doesn't mean that it's true, but I mean it when I say it.
Like, oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I understand why you're doing things that you don't even understand that you're doing.
That is quite the assumption.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. No, I believe that that's what you think, but it's also quite the assumption.
I'm not saying it's true as in the world. I mean, there is no moral truth.
I'm saying the assumption that you're making. That is quite an assumption.
It is a fun world to live in as long as my cage is around me.
Well, going back to being out with somebody, you can include them on the people watching.
They just get in my way. They just get it.
It's like I'm going back to what I said last week. You're an enigma.
They just get in my. I'm like, shh, shh, shh. Is that her mother or his girlfriend? I don't know.
You're interrupting the conversation.
I love trying to figure out what the relationships between people are and if they're happy. Spoiler alert: I always say no.
Yeah, that one.
I do. I'm like, man, that person, they just hate each other.
That's some wild projection.
But do you find, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, this is an entertainment show, hopefully. I do. What do you think the percentage made up stat here? And this is why I don't like planning for pregame. I like where we end up. I've done so much.
We didn't plan. This has been chaotic as shit.
That's what I mean. We've done so much planning on this show for so long. I like where it takes us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Give me a percentage of relationships that you're familiar with where you feel like this is it. These guys truly have found their soulmate and they're genuinely fulfilled.
That requires some gray area simply because I don't think it's, wow, these people are ever figured out or these people are miserable. There's some gray area where it's like they seem good together, but I don't know the inner workings. In terms of
They're going to be on a dateline. If that's how you feel about them, they're going to be on a dateline. You poisoned my Snapple and now I'm dead.
We're going to a cabin in the woods up in the mountains.
You seduced a 21-year-old kid to do your dirty work and then you put it on his shoulders.
You can't say 21-year-old kid. If you're 21, you're not a kid anymore.
Tyler, I'm old as fuck. Have you seen a 21-year-old recently?
But kid doesn't work.
But a child.
Young adult maybe, but not kid.
You're shaving by putting milk on your face and letting a cat lick it off. You're a kid.
That's not kid. That's just psychopath.
Sure. Like having those fish eat the skin off your toes.
No, I hear that's therapeutic.
I'd give it a shot. Would you?
Yeah, I'd try it.
To all those people out there who don't know, you could go to a salon, you put your feet in the tank. How many people have put their feet in that tank, by the way?
A lot of people. But the fish are eating it, though. And I think it's salt water, right?
It's like the ocean just filled with fish poop. And
That's
you
true.
put your feet in there. And I don't think it's seawater, right? Aren't they some sort of? I guess we'd have to look.
I have no idea.
And they eat the dead skin off of your feet.
Yeah,
I want to put my face in there, Tyler.
Yeah, what's the feet or the water?
I want to put my feet in. Anyway, go on. What were you saying?
That's a form of symbiosis, almost, right? That is symbiosis. They're getting fed and they're eating the dead skin off of us. It's beneficial for both.
Like like the remora fish. Yeah. They're doing like what remora fish do for sharks.
Yeah, exactly.
Or land sharks.
The bugs who eat. It's actually kind of true.
Sure.
The bugs who eat the birds who eat the bugs out of the animal's fur, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's plenty of those on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have a symbiotic relationship. I create a mess, you clean it up.
That's fair.
Keeps us alive.
I thought you were going to go to the final bite of a sandwich thing where Ryan refuses to take the final bite of a sandwich.
You know what?
For whatever reason.
Poor journalism.
And I eat it. So yes, symbiosis for sure.
I don't want to talk about that. Let's do the show.